Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being here today. We're going to get started in about 2 minutes, so please find a seat. The presentation is about to begin in about 2 minutes. Thank you all. We're going to be starting in 1 minute. Please find your seats. The presentation is going to begin in about 1 minute. Thank you all. Please find your seats. We're going to begin momentarily. Grab some food, grab a drink, find your seat. We're going to start here shortly. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and begin. If y'all could please find your seats. We're going to start here in about 15 seconds. Come on in, have a seat.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Can you guys hear me okay? We're good? Okay, perfect. So, good morning, everyone, and welcome. Thank you all for being here today. My name is Betty Arguello, and I have the honor of serving as the president of NAHREP, Texas Plano Garland chapter. Today's topic is about protecting the deal and preserving the legacy. It's very important to us as real estate professionals. This is very important to us as real estate professionals, and this is also part of NAHREP's mission. And at the heart of NAHREP's mission is empowering the Hispanic community to achieve sustainable home ownership and build generational wealth. But also, building wealth is not only about purchasing real estate. Building wealth is about knowing how to protect what we have worked so hard to build and making sure that the wealth can benefit our future generations. So today we have two outstanding lawyers, attorneys, who will help us do exactly that. How can we do that? And before we begin, I want to call all our board directors to come to the stage, please. All our board directors, please come to the stage. And we're going to wait for Katie. Just be patient, please. And I want you guys to give a big round of applause because they are for their leadership, their dedication, and the commitment to our members and to the community. This is the group of people who work for us, guys. So thank you, guys, and let's take a picture and let's give them a round of applause.
Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
So we really appreciate every one of you guys. Thank you for being part of this board. And also, I would like to recognize our current and past presidents and leaderships of NAHREP. If you guys can stand up, current and past presidents of NAHREP from this chapter and other chapters. Any one of you? Leaderships? We have current and past presidents. Give them a big round of applause. And thank you guys for your continued leadership and for strengthening this organization. We really appreciate you guys. Thank you. Well, and I also would like to ask for the MetroTex leaderships, volunteers who volunteer at MetroTex, at other organizations, Texas Realtors, any other volunteers. If we have any volunteers, please stand up. Thank you guys for being here and for the continued service to our profession. We really appreciate you guys. And well, last but not least, I would like to ask all our sponsors, partners, if you can please stand up. Sponsors and partners, please stand up. So these amazing people have helped this program to happen. If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be here. So we appreciate you guys. Thank you. Let's give them a big round of applause. And and this is what NAHREP is about. It's bringing people together. It's sharing knowledge. It's building relationships and creating opportunities, guys. So thank you guys for being here. And protecting the bill is important, but protecting the family, the assets, and the legacy is what makes the deal really meaningful. So welcome everyone, and thank you for being here, and let's have a great event. Thank you.
Thank you, Betty. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Good morning. Still morning time. Good morning. My name is Deidre Gwen. I am the Government Affairs Director with NAHREP, and I have with me.
Hello, everybody. Hi, guys. My name is Rick Pereira. I am the treasurer for NAHREP Texas Plano Garland. And we're excited to have you here today.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so Betty kind of set the stage for us with what we're going to be speaking about today. But just ahead of time, I want you guys to think about a few things before we get started with our guest speakers. How many of you have ever had a transaction delayed because of a probate, heirship, title, divorce, or ownership issue?
Raise those hands.
Never happened, right? How many of you have ever worked with a client who thought they had authority to sell the property, but later learned they did not? Yeah. Have you ever had a family member say, we all know what mom wanted, but there's no paperwork to support it? Yeah, no way. When you hear the word probate, what is the first thing that comes to mind? Delay, confusion, cost, the family drama, right? Family drama, or something else, any number of things. And so, as realtors, we're not expected to give legal advice, right? But we're often the first to see something that's not quite right. And so the conversation that we want to have today is just helping us understand the red flags and as professionals to make sure that our house is in order, because it's very difficult to consult or advise or mention any of the challenges that we just talked about if we're not living that, right? And that means, do we have a will? Do we have a trust? Do we have financial plans so that we're protecting our families? Denise is going to share with us later on our NAHREP 10 values and principles, and one of those is protecting our wealth. And this conversation is very important in doing so. So I appreciate everyone for being here. Thank you for coming and looking forward to spending this time with you.
At this time, I want to go ahead and bring up Brenda, who is our parliamentarian. She's going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Good morning, everyone. But before you can sit down. Because before we begin, I would like to take a moment to recognize those among us who serve or are currently serving in the United States Armed Forces. If you are a veteran or currently serving as an active member of our military, would you please stand to be recognized? Thank you for your service and for the sacrifices you and your family have made for our great country. And at this time, I would invite everybody that are able to please stand and join me in honoring our nation with a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please take a seat. Thank you. And our next speaker, we have Denise with our NAHREP team. And Denise is our vice president.
Feels good to be in the AC, right? Okay, so good morning, everyone. Welcome to our wills and probate event. For those I have not yet had the opportunity to meet, my name is Denise Camillo, better known as Denise on a Mission. I am a loan originator, a realtor team lead, a licensed life insurance agent, and a vice president of NAHREP, Texas, Plano Garland. I wear many hats, but every one of them serves one mission, which is to educate people, create opportunities, build wealth, and help families protect their future. Okay. From wealth to legacy, building wealth is only the beginning. The next responsibility is protecting it. We can spend decades building homes, businesses, investments, and financial security. But without a plan, what we work so hard to create can become confusion, conflict, unnecessary expense, or loss for the people we love most. A legacy is not simply what we accumulate. A legacy is what we intentionally prepare to pass forward. Today, I challenge you to listen not only as a professional, but as a homeowner, a business owner, a parent, a spouse, a child, a member of a family. Ask, if something happened to me tomorrow, would my family know what to do? Would they know what I own, what I owe, where my important documents are, what my wishes are? Have I clearly identified who should make decisions on my behalf? Have I built wealth without creating a plan to protect and transfer it? These questions may be uncomfortable, but avoiding them does not protect our families. Education, preparation, and intentional action do. Leadership is not merely recognition. It's taking what you're capable of and putting it in service. It's something larger than your ego. So today, let us be present, let us ask questions, let us take notes, and most importantly, let us take action. Okay. So the NAHREP 10, these 10 disciplines right here to my left. These 10 disciplines challenge us to have a mature understanding of wealth and prosperity, be in the top 10% of your profession, be politically savvy because public policy matters, be physically fit because wealth without health is meaningless, live below your means and be ready for the next recession, be generous with people who are less fortunate, minimize debt because it is the biggest enemy to wealth. Be active in the lives of your family and children. Invest at least 20% of your income in real estate and stocks. Know your net worth, including the value of your business, because you cannot improve what you do not measure. Okay. So when we educate one person, we strengthen a family. When we strengthen families, we build stronger communities. And when we intentionally build, protect, and transfer wealth, we transform generations. Thank you all for being here, for investing in your education, and for supporting NAHREP's mission of advancing sustainable Hispanic home ownership and generational wealth. Thank you. Okay, Rick is going to talk about the passports that we gave out at registration.
Hello, everybody. I hope you got a passport. Who here has a passport? Raise your hand. All right, excellent. The passport highlights essentially everybody that's supporting this organization, all of our sponsors. And what I would like for you all to do is to please go back there, mingle, connect. That passport is vital. It's very important for you all because once you have your passport and you get it signed by those sponsors, you're going to be entered into a raffle to go to Las Vegas. We do have a special guest that's going to be talking about that later, and y'all are going to love it. So please make sure you go back there, you get that signature, and you'll be entered into the Las Vegas raffle. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Ray. So we're going to call up our first attorney, and just to kind of set the stage for this conversation is about planning and preparing and avoiding. And so Mr. Morrow has been a partner for me and my family in being intentional around having these conversations that we avoid having. We don't want to talk about death. I can speak personally, my husband is avoiding all of it. He doesn't want to hear it. He thinks it's weird. Why are we talking about it? Well, we have to talk about it. And so being in this room means that we get to talk about it. And so I don't want you to show your hands, but I want you to think about and recognize if you have everything in order for yourselves. Because there's an important thing for us as professionals is we have to walk what we're guiding our clients in and making our clients aware of. And so important that we're educated and that we know, and certainly upfront to avoid, but certainly understanding then on the second part of the conversation is how things happen in transaction, where some of you can raise your hands and say, yeah, I can relate to those things. So let's first talk about how do we set things up for success. And so we have Eric Morrow that's coming to the stage. And Mr. Morrow is a veteran, and I don't think I saw him stand up. Okay, I'll allow him to introduce himself and share his credentials with you, but I can personally say that he is a wealth of knowledge, and I think you'll gain a lot from the time that we have with him. So thank you for being here, sir.
Thank you. Oh, there's a lot of you guys here today. My name is Eric Morrow, as you said, and I work with my wife at the firm Morrow. We're located in Mesquite, and we actually will be opening up an office in Plano too as well. We mostly focus on estate planning, probate, the things that you're saying that nobody wants to talk about. One biggest thing that people don't realize is needed in almost all cases, some form of planning. It's not just because you're rich, it's not because you have this or you own this. It's always needed to make sure that your family can handle your estate after you pass away. Estate planning isn't always just about after what happens when you die. It's also about planning when we're still alive, but maybe unable to take care of ourselves. It allows us to, with all the different types of documents there are, it allows us to make sure we have a plan for this. And that's the biggest thing. We can assume that it goes to our spouse, we can assume that it goes to our children, but unless we have it written down, it doesn't always work out exactly the way it works. And even if it does work that way, it sometimes takes a lot longer to get there. Especially, the real estate professionals know about the probate without a will, and sometimes it take up to a year and a half. Things like that. These are time-consuming things we're spending a little bit of time planning to avoid it. So like wills, those are what allow you to dictate what happens after you're gone. It allows you to choose, do I want to provide my spouse, do I want to provide for my family? And different children in different ways. Especially with blended families, having something written is going to make it a lot easier. Because things don't always happen the way you want, like I was saying, especially like with homeownership. Most deeds these days says you own half, my spouse owns half. If you want to make sure that after your spouse passes on, that the surviving spouse can get the whole house, you have to take extra steps. If you have blended families, it goes to the children, not to the spouse, things like that. But you can avoid that with things like a transfer death deed, or what some people ladybird deed, or enhanced life estate deeds. And these are how we transfer the house. Without having to go through a probate process. These make it simpler and easier to actually get it done. All it takes is a 30-minute conversation with an attorney or to get it done. And then we have like our power of attorney documents. These are what helps us make decisions, allow us to pick somebody to help us make decisions when we can't do it ourselves. You have your durable power of attorney, your finances, your legal, your everything underneath the sun but medical. This allows you to set it up in a way where family members can sell your property if we're unable to do it ourselves, or as we get old and we're trying to downsize. It also allows us if we had something happen while we were young, and just maybe we had an accident or something like that. This allows us to put somebody in charge to make sure that things happen the way you want it to. Doesn't necessarily always have to be the children, especially if they're minors. Sometimes you want to choose a trusted friend. And then this document allows us to do that. Now you got your medical power attorney, obviously, as a state, it just helps make medical decisions when you can't make them yourself. As long as you can talk to the doctor will always listen to you, but there are times where you need to put somebody in charge. Next of kin normally steps in the emergency situations, but what if you have a child that can probably handle that kind of situation, or a friend that you prefer to handle that situation? This allows us to choose these people. And a lot of times, we'll choose our spouse as our primary, but what about the backup, just in case something happens to both of us? Because a lot of times, as spouses, we spend a lot of time together, traveling together. If something is going to happen, it could happen to both of us. How are we going to get things taken care of? Who's going to take care of the children? And that's what these documents help us with. It's not just about, like I said, happy. Sometimes you need to plan for what happens. You can even dictate who would be a guardian if you were to need that. So a lot of times the power of attorneys are what help you with that. It makes it so that you can choose. And it kind of prevents allowing the law to choose for you, right? It gives us that power to make choices that otherwise we never can. While it's never too early to do these documents, there is a time where it becomes too late. If you're unable, if you have at your age and your memory, things like that, we're getting to a stage where you can't do it. So doing them soon, doing them while we're still able, is the best option. Now, when it comes to wills, we even plan for our minors in the wills. A lot of times we don't want minors to just inherit everything. Minors can't contract, things like that. So, especially when a minor becomes an owner of a home, that causes a lot of difficulties in trying to sell. So what we do is, in our wills, we plan for that. We add what's called the minor beneficiary trust within the will. This allows us to choose who's going to take care of the minor themselves, as well as who's going to take care of the finances and the money for the minor, for the benefit of the minor. Sometimes it's not always we want the guardian and the trustee to be the same person. Sometimes we like to kind of split that up and add some checks and balances. And this is where that comes into play. And we include that directly into the will. So when it comes to trust, obviously everybody's heard of the living trust and things like that. They're useful, but not always. If we want, it all depends on our unique circumstances. The minor beneficiary trust in the will is something that we do quite often, but an actual living trust, a revocable living trust, those are more complicated. Those allow us to dictate exactly what we want. While a will is pretty general, it goes out right to the children or to the spouse, things like that. And with maybe a few specific gifts, the trust says, allows us to choose, maybe we don't want this property to be sold. Maybe we want to give our children a stipend of some sort. Maybe we don't want them to run off to Cabo with all our riches. That's where the trust comes into play. It allows us to limit access in some form or fashion. You don't have to be rich to have a trust, but sometimes it's all about control. How much control do you want over your assets after you pass away? Some people do use it for probate avoidance to, you want to make sure the assets are transferred into the trust. While that works, there are other ways, like the transfer on death deeds, like beneficiary designations. The trust is good purely about the control of what happens. And then also it helps if we have property out of the state and different things like that, because we don't want to have to go through probate in multiple states. So when it comes to the home ownership and when it comes to owning property, you can put them in trust, but what I see more often than not is a lot of people forget that step. They may do the trust, they may get the will, and they think that the trust will avoid probate, but they forget to actually transfer the assets into the trust. And so they think they have this plan in place, but nothing's actually there. That's where so no matter what, even if you have a trust, we still do the transfer on death deed or the warranty deed into the trust to make sure that that's actually happening the way you want it. And that's usually the biggest thing. I've actually had a probate for many trusts because of that reason alone. They forgot to transfer the asset. So while we can come up with the best plans on paper, until you actually get the assets transferred and get those beneficiary designations made, you still are not avoiding going through the probate process. Now sometimes we want to force probate, and sometimes just to kind of make sure that our will controls. And with the properly drafted will, it only takes about 3 months in Dallas County, but sometimes quicker, sometimes longer, depending on where you are. It's when the family starts fighting, and that's where things get real messy. Say it again? All right. So, and also, it's remembering to update your documents. Once we get them done, it's not a one and done always, and we try our best to ensure that we plan for multiple scenarios, multiple contingencies. I'm a big fan of that. But, different life events make us happy. We have to. If we lose a loved one, that maybe we made one of our executors, or maybe we made him our agent for the power plant. We need update. If divorce is a big one, we usually need to get things updated. The law will handle it for the most part in a divorce situation, but it's always best to make sure you have properly updated documents. So once you're done, it doesn't take that long to get there. For us, we may have an hour-long conversation. Everything that I need is usually right upstairs in your head. I don't require a whole bunch of documents. I don't send out homework. The 30-page questionnaire that's not how we do it. That's not how it needs to be done. A lot of times, everything that you have in your head is all we need to get. You just got to think about who do we want in charge? Who do we want to take care of? And where do we want the work that and the assets that we built in our life to go to after we're no longer here? Any questions? Go ahead.
I know that the documents are usually always in English, but if you have a family that's in Latin America, can you provide translation in Spanish, or how does that work? Because get a family in Latin America.
Some offices do provide translation in Spanish. At our office, we have one of our paralegals that helps us out with that a lot. Where we can, sometimes we want to, like with the deed, we want to file it in English and make it simple for title companies and things like that. But we also provide them with the Spanish version. So, and a lot of power attorneys, they come in both languages.
Do you also provide, if say for example, the couple splits up and the husband moves back to Latin America, do you provide the services to send the forms so that the ex-husband can process at the consulate, signing and then coming back here, or do you get involved in that, or is that a title company?
So I don't normally get involved in those kind of things. So the way it works is I can only provide services to Texas residents, right? Because my license is only for Texas. So we can get the documents together, we can get the power attorneys, but sometimes if like he needs a power attorney for here, we can do things like that and provide it. But the notary system is different and things like that, so it adds a lot more complication. But sometimes it can be done. Any other questions? Go ahead.
I've just been furiously writing questions, so I'll only do
No, you're
one.
fine.
Why would you probate in multiple states?
When you have real property, your homes, is the reason. So personal property, basically all your other things, your bank accounts, that depends on the state where you live. But real property, real estate, that you have to probate depending on the state that property is located. So currently we have, I've had multiple active cases where we have probate in Texas, and now I have to send them over to Oklahoma to get the mineral rights, get all that taken care of. So, any other questions?
Good morning. So you mentioned about the common misconception that trusts are for wealthy people, for high net worth, and you covered that that's not the case. Would you say like the Lady Bird deed is one vehicle that everybody should have, or in what scenario would you recommend revocable trust versus irrevocable versus just the deed, Lady Bird deed?
So with the deeds, there's two types of main deeds that you can transfer over. You have the transfer on death deed and you have the Lady Bird deed. The Lady Bird deed is good for avoiding the Medicaid state recovery program, essentially coming out to the house after we pass away. It allows us to make sure that that house, our legacy, gets passed on to who we want. The transfer on debt deed is more statutory, more what basically the powers that be created. What I've heard from different title companies, they prefer the transfer on debt deed, but the Lady Bird deed works. But it really depends on the family and what their intentions are, right? And to how we want, which deed we use. Now, when you take that in comparison to the trust, no matter what, we have to do some form of deed work anyways. And usually a lot of times, like my preference, is I'll do the transfer on debt deed to the spouse first, and then do the trust. We use the trust as a plan for after the spouse is gone. And that goes back in with control, right? The people that are creating the document don't want to lose control. So it makes it simpler for them. And then if you get the irrevocable trust, we're taking that power away. So irrevocable trusts are good if you are doing more LDL Medicaid planning. As long as you have the timing right, you use like a 5-year look back, things like that. But 99% of the time, for the individuals, I prefer the revocable trust, because then it allows them to change it as time goes on. Because nothing is really set in stone until it is, right? So we don't want to lock every decision you've made today in and make it more difficult to change it 10 to 15 years down the road, especially as the children age, family age. So if you want the control, like we talked about with providing a stipend or having maybe one person in charge of all when it comes to how the assets get moved around, then the trust is good. But like I said, as long as you make sure the assets get moved to the trust, otherwise you will still be having to probate the will. And then if you just wanted them to go outright, then there are the probate avoidance tools like the deeds and beneficiary designations, even on life insurances, 401ks. One big one is people forget that even your bank account, your checking and savings can have beneficiary. I know when I opened up my checking, they never asked me. Well, if you get a life insurance policy, they force it, right? So a lot of times people forget to just go talk to the bank and get that payable and definitely should for checking account. 9 times out of 10 is the bank account or the home is why people have to work. And that's usually my issue.
I have a question. Do you recommend doing a transfer on debt deed with your estate planning or doing it prior?
So I usually recommend it with it. It depends on your unique circumstances. If you're planning on selling for the next year, now you're doing a benefit analysis of is the cost to get it done worth, because the deed follows the home. It avoids as soon as you sell it, right?
What if you have a blended family?
When you have a blended family, I almost always recommend it. Because the spouse will not just easily get the other half of that house. So because you have to pay a fair share, which is a way to handle it after passing, that gives that spouse's half to the children. So essentially, that makes it so that the deed prevents all of that mess, right? Especially if there's 6 children, or depending on how many kids you're talking about, it makes things more complicated. Or if in some blended families, maybe the children were already adults and long gone before they got married, so they have no sympathy for the situation and they want their share. You'd be surprised how much that gets involved. Go ahead.
What about properties out of the country?
Say again?
The properties that are out of the country.
When property is out of the country, it's essentially the same thing like it's out of state. You will have to probate in that country. So we've had many people where they're working on a probate in Mexico, and then they're also having to start a probate in Texas. So it's essentially similar to if you're out of state, you have to do it in that location.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I got a question. Over here. What about insignificant others? There's a car accident, common law. How does all that work? And there's a fatal accident. The person they live with doesn't have a will or anything, but that insignificant other, the partner that's been there for months, with them or a year. How does common law work in the state of Texas? What rights do they have?
Yeah, so common law isn't as easy as it sounds to actually happen, and it's hard to prove. So essentially, you have to follow the certain steps of, holding yourself out of being married, sometimes filing joint taxes, things like that. It's more about evidence-based. Is there enough evidence that you were, and depending on who's fighting you on that claim. Then essentially you have to go through the court process through what's called intestate when you pass power will, and then get to court to determine who the heirs are. That determination, if you can show enough evidence to the judge, to the court, where then they can claim as a spouse. If you can get that part, and then you have all the same rights as a spouse. You just have to pick the long route there to get there. But in Texas, once you get considered a common law spouse, it's the same thing as being a spouse, and the rights remain the same. Any other questions?
Yeah, right. So, what about when you have like properties outside of, you said you do it in Texas, but if you have individuals that have properties in Texas and outside, you know, other states, you take care of that as well. And when we talk about cars,
Yeah.
should that be in there? Because I've heard some stuff, they say that, I've heard some people say you shouldn't put vehicles in that, you should just sell those off instead of leaving it to where that's going to go with a, like, you know, will or anything else like that.
So when you have properties outside the state, sometimes that's the benefit of a trust, because then you can feed that property into the trust right away. So then you don't have to probate that estate. Or some states, most states will have their own version of the transfer on death and things like that. Cars, they're considered personal property, so even a Texas probate can handle a car registered out of Washington. That isn't as important. A lot of times, though, no one ever probates for a car. It just has not happened in my life. So essentially, with car, yeah, and you know, where you go to register your vehicle, they have their own version of that vehicle. So a lot of times the cars can be handled that way. Obviously, you know, if you got that classic Corvette or something like that, you're better off. You can add a beneficiary designation to a car. When you just re-register, retitle, you can then, if it's paid off and there's no lien, you can actually add a beneficiary designation to a vehicle.
And then we had multiple siblings, and you decide you want to leave it to one of them, you just leave them $1.
So that dollar phrase is actually worse in my opinion, because once you leave them $1, you're making them a beneficiary of the will. And now they have more rights, notices, things like that, more of a chance to fight the will. The idea of the dollar, how it works now at least, is that we do include like no contest clauses in the will, which essentially says if you fight my will and lose, you get disinherited. So you have to leave them enough to make that fight not worth it. So a lot of times, if you want to disinherit an account, but you're more than welcome to, you're not required by any means to give everything to your family or your children. You're better off just not leaving anything. And sometimes making it clear in the will, we purposely left this child out. And that's the safest way, rather than actually putting them as a beneficiary.
Sir? Yep. Most of the trials, those case by case, what is an average cost of a trial?
For a trust, a lot of times it's case by case. It depends on the exact situation. It could be anywhere between like 2,000 and up, depending on how many. Not necessarily the assets. Sometimes it's how many deeds we have to do with the assets. Sometimes it's, you know, if it's a couple versus a single person, things like that. But it's pretty wide area based off the unique situation. We set them out 3 weeks. The second I get all the information, I can get it drafted and signed within 3 weeks.
And we need to go to the last question.
What happens if a parent becomes mentally incapacitated after you've done the estate planning? And for example, in the case of like Alzheimer's, when you have a transaction that you want to do later on, but that person may not be in a capacity to sign a contract.
So if you have the proper estate planning, the power of attorney things will handle that, right? And a lot of times when we have multiple properties that we actually specifically have to put in the power of attorney, you know, information regarding to be able to sell and transact on that property. But the durable power of attorney will handle almost all situations if they were able to have it signed and done prior to losing that capacity. If it was afterwards, then you basically have to go through a guardianship, which is a long, expensive process through the courts. You get appointed as being the person in trust. And the court decides that if you qualify versus the individual being able to choose. That's one of the big importance of having your estate plan together. No matter if you feel like you need it or not, having it in place to prevent situations where things like that could happen, or if an accident on the road, things like that. All right, that was nice speaking with you guys. We'll be here all day.
Okay, now for a brief intermission, we are going to go ahead and call up Mr. Mark, who is our secretary, and we are going to call up Lisa, who is our educational director. We're going to have the raffle. Does everybody have their passports turned in? Looks like Mark is going to pick this up. I also have Margie Montalvo here, who is our membership director. She has a few words for us.
I want to say thank you so much to everybody for being here. Thank you to all the realtors, loan officers, title companies, to everybody, to all the industry. And now I want to do the raffle. Where's my friends? Where is Teresa? Where is Martin? They're not here? We want to do, we want to make someone happy. We want to do the raffle. Are you ready? Are you ready, guys? Yay! A little bit. Thank you to everybody. Thank you to Plano Garland chapter. This is for you. Thank you so much for being part of our family. Now we want to call is the secretary with Texas Plano Garland chapter, and we want to. What is the last name? What is the basket? We need a basket. We want to call and thank you to all our sponsors. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for First American. Thank you so much, the title company, to be here and be our sponsor. If you guys want to say thank you, help me, and also set the time, please. They have a lot of presents for you guys. I don't know if you have already walked over there. Who can do this? You or me?
All right, I'll do the raffle. So, all right. I'm not looking. See who the winner is. Should I pick from the bottom, the middle, or the top? Middle. Okay, middle it is. All right. We have a winner, Edith Gaona.
Yeah! Oh my God! You know what? This is happy.
Congratulations, Edith Gaona.
Congratulations. First North America title.
Let's come on up with your gift.
Yes, please.
For the winner.
And also, can you come in here and tell everybody how you know about this event?
How I found out about this event was because she posted a reel on Instagram. This is the proof that social media works. So.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
First America. What is the present?
Oh, sorry. Home warranty. Sorry.
Oh, so sorry. I thought it was home warranty. So we need home warranty. All the realtors. Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Gloria with First American Home Warranty. So if you haven't visited me over at the table, please come by during the break or afterwards. And I brought a lot of marketing material for you. I use the product that I sell, so I know it really well, and I can definitely help your clients. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oh, next, Cano Molina. Where is Cano Molina? Thank you so much for the insurance. Yeah. Can you come in here, please? Who's gonna be the winner?
All right, winner today is, we're gonna pick from the bottom. And the winner is Eric Mauro. Come on up, Eric Mauro.
Hey, good morning, everyone. We are back there with Capital Insurance. We are helping people to get affordable homes, houses, boat, mobile homes, businesses, whatever you need in terms of property and casualty insurance. We are back there. You just pass by. We have a lot of material for you, and welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Can you clap me, please? No, you want me? What is the gift?
All right, next raffle.
No, what is the gift for you? Carolina.
Carolina Morena, please come up with your gift. No, Carolina Moreno.
Katie Cole, I'm so sorry for holding. Where is Eric? Who is that? Eric. Oh, Katie Cole, Katie Cole. You want to give the prize? Oh, thank you so much. No, the winner. Yes, Eric was the winner. So sorry, guys. You are the winner. I don't know if you can fit here. Eric is the winner. I'm so sorry, Eric. I'm sorry, guys. He's the winner. I'm sorry. My president is coming. Well, I'm sorry. Yeah. We're gonna give it to you. Katie Hope, thank you so much for giving that idea. And also, God also featuring tell us something about.
Sorry about that.
Katie Hope.
Good afternoon, guys.
Round of applause. Keep it on the house.
Alright, hello. My name is Eileen Mortaya. I'm one of the sales counselors with KB Home. So we just had two mini raffles for $25 gift card, which we just gave to, I think his name is Eric. But basically, we do have another raffle that we're doing inside my community as well. So if you guys haven't had the chance to stop by my table, if you visit any of our communities, you guys have a chance to win a 75-inch TV as well. So stop by and see me. But also just to kind of give you guys a little bit about KB Home, we are a personalized builder. So we focus a lot on personalization. We're very customer-centric. We start at a very affordable price at $259,990, and we go all up to like $350, you name it. But yeah, my name is Eileen, and this is my partner.
Good afternoon. My name is Jesus. I'm the online sales counselor for KB Home. So whenever you call the number on the website, I'll probably be the one answering, giving you a bit of info on our communities, and scheduling y'all's appointment with our on-site sales counselors.
All right, guys. Have a great day.
Thanks so much, KB Home. Thank you for your support.
We're gonna do the next one. Can you get another one? Katie Cummings, can I get another gift card?
We have another gift card? Okay, another one.
Yeah,
Another raffle, all right.
Yeah.
The winner is Lucky Hand. Lucia. Come on up, congratulations. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. And later on, we have another gift for you guys. No? That's all? Yes, at the end.
Big round of applause, congratulations. Thank you, KB Home, thank you. I want to announce we are 3 winners in, so we're going to do another raffle towards the end with another 3 winners. So.
Oh, yes, the biggest prize tonight or today is the ticket for the Las Vegas trip. So we'll be announcing the winner for that raffle as well. Who here wants to take a trip to Vegas next month? To Bellagio. All right. We're going to have one lucky winner, so we'll keep you updated. Thank you.
All right, guys, I hope you're learning something here, some very valuable information, a lot of insightful info that our lawyers brought today. I want to go ahead and make a very quick point. It is much more affordable for you to contact an attorney before somebody passes, because bills do not stop coming. You have to pay your mortgage, you have to pay your insurance, maybe a car note. It's better to prepare before somebody passes away and make sure that you have all your documents ready and your attorney's taking care of everything. So right now I just want to go ahead and bring up Jalissa Simon from Chicago Title. She's going to be introducing our next speaker. Ms. Jalissa, come on down.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Jalissa Simon, and I am an escrow officer for Smith & Collins, which is an attorney fee office for Chicago Title. Over the last few years, I have had the pleasure of helping many of you with your clients' most important, if not the most important transactions of their life, the sale and purchase of a home. As an escrow agent, I want you to know that I take my job very seriously, and I treat each and every single one of your transactions as if they were one of my own. And I ensure that I close each one of them with as much attention to detail as possible, and that I dedicate the necessary sense of urgency to each one of them so that they close accurately and precisely. As I mentioned, I'm an escrow officer. I am not a sales rep, so that if you send me your contract, it will be me that you'll be closing with, not someone else that you don't have a relationship with. And lastly, I just wanted to express to you that I feel very fortunate to work in an office that has real estate attorneys there. It pretty much allows us to close any type of real estate transactions, from residential to commercial to seller financing, investment properties, hard money loans to wraparound loans. And of course, our very favorite, dead people, right? We can pretty much do it all as long as it's legal. And, right, as long as it's legal. Yes, and our attorneys will make sure that it's legal. So with not much further ado, let me introduce you to one of our real estate attorneys in our office. His name is Joe Davison, and he will be talking to you about wills, trust, and probate.
Good morning. Thank you all for having me here. It's always a pleasure. I want to let you guys know how much I appreciate this organization. It's important. The work you do is important. The way you support each other is important. And the way you support your clients is important too. And these are all very meaningful missions that you've set out here. And I do appreciate that. Like Jalissa said, I'm a title attorney. So I'm going to talk more specifically about title-related matters that arise or are triggered by death of the property owner. And I've passed out some sheets that are on the tables, just to let you kind of follow along with what I'm going to talk about. And take some notes and write questions if you have any. I'd like to follow up on something that Eric talked about briefly. I want to hammer this home, so if you leave here just remembering one thing, I want you to remember transfer on debt deeds. Because transfer on debt deeds they're efficient, they're powerful, they're inexpensive, and they're convenient. And if you're taking one step to protect the biggest asset of the family, and that's their home, if you remember one thing today, just remember transfer on debt deeds. Some of these topics, especially debt, are difficult to talk about because we have fear of the unknown. And what I hope you leave here today is a little bit more knowledge so that you on the front lines can see red flags and diffuse some of this fear by having knowledge that these problems can be resolved, and knowledge that if we plan appropriately, we can avoid some of them altogether. The probate process in Texas is rather simple. Compared to some other states, it's fairly quick and it's fairly inexpensive. That's not to say it's free or it's fast, but it is fairly efficient, and it shouldn't be something that people fear or avoid entirely. If they must probate an estate, then we have a good system for addressing it. Also on the sheets you have is a very simple comparison of intestacy versus testacy. An intestate estate is one that the deceased does not have a will, and say Texas decides who gets your stuff. There are statutes to dictate that. And the other side of that table explains that, compares that to testacy, which is how an estate is handled by probate, when there is a will. So that's just information for you all to have. It's not particular to the issues that I'm going to discuss in detail, but it's good information to understand what the difference is and how they relate to each other. So I'm going to talk about specific title defects, encumbrances that are commonly triggered by or arise after the death of the property owner. And then we'll talk about how to address them or avoid them, and that's the familiarity I want you to have to look at these. To be able to see these when you're out there on the front lines. The other sheet that I've passed out is fairly specific to real estate agents, and it gives you some red flags to look out for. This is if you're a lender, these are the same. These are things that if you see or hear them, listen, pay attention. These are red flags, and they could cause delay in your transaction. And for one, I've learned one thing in real estate business is that time kills real estate deals. People lose interest, they find other property, other problems arise, things get in the way, life changes, but time kills real estate deals. If you can shorten that time by being efficient and addressing matters and see them ahead of time, then you're going to have more luck closing more transactions and better serving your clients. The first thing I'd like to talk about is we call it the frozen chain of title. Because when a person dies, what they own, and we're going to speak more particularly about real property, real estate, becomes an asset of their estate. They're dead, no longer here to sign the deed. So that question is, who would sign that deed? And for a period of time, a title is frozen until we figure out who's going to sign that deed, who's in control of the property or the estate, and who has the authority to sell or operate it or manage it in the meantime. So filing probate addresses this situation because the probate court would issue what are called letters testamentary. And these are this is a document signed by the court stating who the executor or administrator of that estate is. And this is the ticket. The letters testamentary is the ticket to the title company to show this is the person who has the authority to handle this estate and distribute the assets of the estate. So if it's a testate probate, then it would be the executor of that estate who then has the authority to distribute the property in accordance with the will. So they would sign the executor's deed to whoever inherited the property. Sometimes the will will give them the power of sale, and they'll sell the property and they'll give the money to whoever's entitled to that. But letters testamentary are the key, and that should be something that you ask clients about if they mention that the owner of the property has died. Do they have letters testamentary? And some of them will look at you with a blank stare and say, I don't know what that is. And that's good that you know that now rather than later. So know these things also because when you sign a listing agreement, you're going to want to know who has the authority to sign the listing agreement. And if there's a deceased property owner, that's something that you should be looking out for. The next one I'd like to talk about is fractional ownership. And this was addressed earlier with blended families as the largest problem that we have here. When someone dies without a will, they die intestate, and the state will decide who gets their stuff. Sometimes that can be a number of people. If someone is a single mother and they die with 9 children, they don't have 9 children that have inherited, likely inherited they own. Some of those children could be minors. Some of them could live in other places. Some of them could be deceased themselves. So it becomes very complicated when you have many heirs that control a piece of property because they have to act in unison. They have to all collectively decide what to do with that property. And that can become a problem whenever you have siblings or heirs that do not get along, that are incarcerated, live in different places. So I often get families will come to me and they'll say, well, I want to leave my property to do with my children. And they're upset. I don't think that's a great idea. I think deciding to sell that property and give those children money is a good idea. Or establishing a trust that benefits all of those children. But you need to have control of that property. And herding 7 siblings that live in different places or 7 heirs is difficult. It can cause that delay to filter a transaction. And they may not get along. And they may have liens themselves that attach to these properties. It can create a lot of different homes for them. When you have multiple heirs, you have to have an establishment of who those heirs are, and that can be the court. Either through a formal process called determination of heirship, who those heirs are, or through the probate of the will. In that process, you can run into other problems too, which are missing heirs. You don't know where they are. They may have left the country a long time ago, or they may have died themselves. Whenever you have an heir that has died themselves, then you have a new set of heirs. And you have a new set of probate issues, and this can layer. And resolving these problems takes time, takes money, and it's going to slow down your transactions and cause your clients harm. Having a unified conveyance where all of these people participate, it can be done. We do it quite a bit in our office. But it can be difficult and requires cooperation. So if you can avoid it, avoid it. The most common situation we see is when for example, a husband passes without a will, but he has adult children from a prior marriage. This is the blended family concept that we were talking about earlier. His surviving spouse may need to sell the home to move into assisted living, but when she goes to sell or list the home, she finds out that she now needs permission or cooperation of his children in order to do so. So that can be a real disappointment to some people who are at that age of relying on that money, and they find out at the last minute that they don't have the authority to do what they want to do at the time they need to do it. And that can cause further delay, and it can increase expenses and cause unrest and conflict between those family members. So keep an eye out for those situations. But until that problem is resolved, that transaction isn't going anywhere. This surviving spouse and those children, they have to cooperate together to resolve. Another issue that we run into is someone does sign a will, and let's say they want to leave their property to one of their children. And so they sign the will and they give that will to that child. And that child says, I've inherited it all, or I will inherit it all, and they put that will in a drawer, and they move into the house, and they don't submit it to probate for whatever reason, thinking they don't have to. They're going to be disappointed later down the road if 4 years pass and they haven't probated that will, because the will is only effective if it's been probated. So that can be a disappointment for people. So if somebody happens to mention that, yes, the property owner died, but I have the will, the next question should be, well, how long ago did they die? There are ways that we can deal with this. There are a process called probating a will as a means of a title, where we can use a will and not do a full probate, but we can only use it to pass title to property. We still have to go through the probate courts, but it does not require a full probate of the entire estate. That's helpful for people who have passed and their only or the primary asset is their home, and that's the only asset that you want to address in the probate. So keep an eye out for this whenever people say that somebody's passed, and this becomes an issue whenever you have more than one intestate heir, but one person named in a will. Because after 4 years, you've opened the door back to those other intestate heirs who may not have been around, may not have been wanted to inherit, certainly because they weren't included in that will. So that's going to add time, conflict, expense, the process of getting this property sold. We have other means of addressing ownership issues that come up in title. One of them is affidavits of heirship, and that was briefly touched on prior. Affidavits of heirship, if you don't know, I'm going to tell you just real quickly, is a sworn statement by an interested party. That's somebody that would have inherited from a deceased person. They swear to the marital history of the deceased person and who their heirs are. Now, this is an affidavit, it's a sworn statement, and it is also corroborated by two people that knew the deceased for more than 10 years and corroborate all the statements of the interested party. Now, most commonly we end up using these after 4 years have passed and there is no will presented for probate, or there was a will and it was not presented to probate, as an attempted shortcut, not going to court, but then filing in the chain of title these affidavits that establish who inherited from this deceased person. They are very useful in certain situations. They can create issues though. Anybody ever watched the show House? The troubled doctor who was the amazing diagnostician. He lived by one mantra, and it was, everybody lies. Now, I don't believe everybody lies, but I have to think that way. Because when people are filling out these affidavits as an interested party, they're prone to be self-serving. I've seen instances where they conveniently forget about that brother who's in prison or the sister who moved to a different country. And when they're reminded later, they seem surprised that you found out about that. And it creates a problem. Most recently, I had a situation come up that was a matter close to a different title company, not mine, but the title underwriter simply refused to accept affidavits of heirship any longer because these parties had recorded multiple versions of them and corrected them multiple times, and they were never correct or complete. And so the underwriters decided, we're going to require a probate. We're no longer going to accept these. And that is the discretion of the title underwriter. So you may have different offices that have different standards, and all the facts are going to be specific to certain situations. So talk to your title officer, talk to your underwriter, have them talk to the underwriter, and see if affidavits of heirship are going to be appropriate for your situation. One thing that was mentioned earlier is the MERP program, which is the Medicaid Estate Recovery Program. And this is a matter that comes up whenever a property owner, prior to their death, they've accepted Medicaid funds for their treatment or living. And Medicaid has the right to recover that money that they paid. So if somebody has their own home, the state of Texas wants them to live in that home or sell that home and use the money to support themselves. If they don't, then they accept money from the state. The state wants to recover some of that money if they die owning a home. Now, this is an issue because there is a 5-year clawback for Medicaid. So if a property is sold, Medicaid can go back and undo those transactions for 5 years to collect their money. So what happens practically is your contract gets the title company, the person has died within a certain period of time, usually 2 years, sometimes 90 days, depends on the circumstances. And your title officer or your escrow officer will contact Medicaid to get a MERP release or a statement saying how much money is owed. So what will happen is either the debt to Medicaid will be paid from the proceeds at closing, or Medicaid will look at the circumstances, they may waive it, or they may say that no money was accepted. But for someone who has passed recently, they're going to require that release or that statement saying how much is owed. This is going to delay your transaction. It can take, Lisa probably knows better than I do, 90 days or so. Sometimes I've been able to do it as quick as 20 days. But it's something that's going to slow down the process. And it can also be a surprise to some people who didn't know that they had to pay that money back. And they're going to be very surprised if there is a payment due, and that comes off of their settlement statement and reduces their bottom line. They're going to be disappointed. And it's not your fault, it's not my fault, but we're the ones that are trying to get them across the finish line in this, so we have to deal with that fallout. So be prepared and with somebody's expectations whenever there's a recent death. And perhaps you know or don't know whether they accepted Medicaid prior to their death, but again, a red flag to keep your eyes for. Occasionally I have people that will end up in my office and they will say, oh, my parents didn't pay property taxes. Okay, that's interesting because we all should pay property taxes. There are very few instances where somebody does not pay property taxes. And they usually relate to whether they're 100% fully disabled veteran or spouse of a fully disabled veteran or the surviving spouse of a first responder or veteran killed in service. Very, very few circumstances where people don't pay property taxes. What we do see is elderly people that have property taxes deferred. So they owe them, they just aren't paying them. And their heirs are surprised whenever that bill comes due, and they realize, uh-oh, we owe all these taxes for these prior years. And it's a disappointment. So, be on the lookout for that red flag. My parents didn't pay property taxes. That you need to prepare people for disappointment, or at least point them in the right direction. I'm not recommending you give them any legal advice, but perhaps they should look again at those bills. There are circumstances where those deferrals can continue for surviving spouses and situations like that, but if somebody's just expecting not to pay property taxes, they're going to be, most of the time, disappointed. The last issue that I'm going to talk about, and then I'll open it up for questions, is matters relating to prior generations. What we're talking about here is legacy. And we want to preserve wealth by moving large assets, primarily real estate, to subsequent generations. And doing it the right way creates wealth for those generations. If we move assets or houses to younger generations without going through the proper steps, sometimes we end up with errors that were made 2 generations, 3 generations ago. And we only discover them once they get to the title company and we research the chain of title. Unfortunately, sometimes the way that we can address that is by having sworn statements and affidavits, but it's been too long. The people that can make those sworn statements are no longer around, or they are but they don't remember, or they're elderly and they have dementia. That can be very difficult, and that will force them back into court to fix problems that happened a long time ago. And they weren't problems created by anybody now that's present generation, deceiving. They're just problems that weren't addressed in the past, and they become expensive and time-consuming to take care of now, and they cause that delay. And that delay is not only disappointing, but it can delay paying for nursing care, or medical care, or travel, any number of things. So, keeping an eye out for those situations. Just understand that they can be overcome. It's going to be time consuming and can be expensive. And if you can see those on the front lines, notice those red flags, point your clients in the right direction, then there are ways we can navigate around them and get started the process earlier to get resolution faster. So you're charged with these things, and when you see them, speak up, ask questions, and point people in the right direction. There's questions.
What happens when you have a client that lives in their parents' home and they don't pay taxes when they pass? So the children, obviously it's going to be the children. How do you deal with that? If there's no taxes that they're paying, and the heirs, will they have to pay taxes?
The taxes will be the obligation of the estate. So we don't inherit debts, but the estate will have debts that will be owed. So there will be a tax lien filed against that property. Usually whenever you have a deferral, there's an automatic tax lien that goes with it. That will be discovered in the title.
Well, how far back do they go? For instance, I have a client that they've been living in their parents' home and their parents passed away years ago. So they just never changed the exemption. I mean, they've never changed the over 65 and exemption.
And they've been accepting that?
Correct.
Yeah, that's a problem. That's a problem because what's that saying about death and taxes? The taxman gets paid. And that's going to be a disappointment for you. There is a tax lien created with those deferrals. Can they sell the property? Yes. If they want an insurable title through a title company, then that tax lien will need to be satisfied for a clear title to be paid. And those taxes would then be paid from proceeds or additional funds outside of the transaction.
So I'm going to comment really quickly on the tax issue, and I'm going to ask my question. I am working with a family who passed away 24 years ago. No one paid taxes. They've been living in the house. There's a sheriff sale coming up for $225,000 in delinquent taxes. There is no mortgage. It is taxes owed to the city of Dallas County. Sheriff sale is coming.
And how much is the property worth?
It's announced. They're selling those lots for $350. We are scrambling to sell it quickly, the dirt. $225,000 in delinquent taxes for 24 years.
And if you run into a situation where there is a pending sale or suit filed, speak up quickly. Don't wait to call somebody on Monday before the Tuesday sale. It's just not going to work. It's very, very difficult to get one of those sales, get an injunction or a couple of those sales delayed. The sooner you know, the more opportunities there are. The county or whoever may be after these have these liens, generally they don't want to take people's homes away from them. They don't want to do that. And if there's a genuine effort to sell property, to contract, if there's even a real estate agent that's been hired to list and sell it, let them know as early as possible, because most of them are reasonable people. It's far more difficult to undo a erroneous sale than it is to delay a sale and allow people to fix the situation and prevent a bad sale from happening. So just don't wait till the last minute and run into this.
Yeah, my hair was black last week. I scrambled. So my question is, really quickly, and maybe the thing about that thing. What is the difference between transfer on deed and labor? Is it the same? And roughly how much is it to get done and recorded?
Okay, transfer on deed versus labor deed. Fundamentally, they do the same thing because they convey property. That's the title property on death. The way they do it is a little bit different. A ladybird deed contains what we call a legal fiction, which honestly I've never been all that comfortable with. They've been around for a long time, longer than I've practiced law, but I don't use them. I don't write them. We have developed the transfer on death deed. It's become a new device within the past 5 years, I believe. It just seems to be cleaner and more concise. The labor deed involves the reservation of certain rights and controls over property despite having conveyed title. It's complicated, and again, I'm not really a big fan. In my office, I really promote the transfer of death deed because I think it's clear. Transfer of death deed, depending on how many layers you have with beneficiaries, like Eric mentioned, having a transfer of death deed that goes to spouses and then possibly to a trust afterwards, or to a child, or if that child is predeceased, then to a successor beneficiary. Depending on how many layers you have, it can be anywhere from $300 to $500. And most of the time it is 1 or 2 layers, and they're very straightforward. They're about $300 plus the cost to import. That's what we charge in practice. So that goes back to, is it efficient? Yes. Is it inexpensive? Relatively. Is it powerful? Yes. Does it preserve or at least get the asset that you're trying to protect to the right people? Yes. That's an affidavit of ownership after the fact, and again, you're dependent on whether an underwriter will accept it within a certain period of time. Because you have 2 years to probate, or claims against the estate are over 2 years after someone dies, that creates issues whenever there's not been a probate of that estate and you're trying to resolve title matters with affidavit of ownership. So affidavit of ownership is more of a, I don't want to say it's a last resort, but it's a tool that's further down the line and happens after the fact, whereas a transfer on death deed or a labor deed, they're planning mechanisms. And I would like to point out that they're not, a transfer on death deed is a non-probate transfer. So matters that may affect probate do not affect the interest in real estate that's transferred with a transfer on death deed, because the transfer happens outside of probate. It happens instantaneous, so long as that deed is properly executed and filed prior to the deed passing.
Yes, can a deed be transferred with the cloud on the title? This person died, the family is trying to sell the home. This person have a home, have a loan with Compass Bank. Compass Bank is not existing anymore, it's PNC Bank. PNC Bank doesn't have the record of the loan, but doesn't want to do that.
I think I understand your question, that you have a lien on a property or a deed of trust where that lender doesn't exist anymore or is not responding. This happens. Usually you need to go to court and determine who has valid liens against property. And sometimes lenders don't want to talk to you or whoever is calling because you're not their customer, or you're not the person that they have a loan with. Sometimes it takes time to find who is the holder of that loan. Sometimes they get lost. Sometimes like too many years have passed, the deed of trust becomes unenforceable through foreclosure, and the lien is it's no longer good. The debt's still being owed, but the lien against the property is not. And that's something that coming to a title company or talking to an attorney is going to help you navigate. But yes, that problem does arise. And sometimes your only answer is to it.
Joe, thank you so much for your presentation today. I have a question. I mean, you mentioned that you're not a big fan of Lady Bird deeds. What would be another alternative for people trying to protect themselves against Medicaid, that 5-year clawback? Because Lady Bird, if I remember correctly, does have some provisions that help on Medicaid. What would be a better alternative if not Lady Bird?
No, I wouldn't say the better alternative, but a transfer on death deed will accomplish the same goal. The Lady Bird deed has been around longer and it has more supporting case law, despite the kind of legal fiction it creates. There is a history of case law that does support it. So in that respect, it does have more history behind it that lends itself to avoiding those clawbacks. But the transfer on death deed, I believe, is cleaner, and maybe Eric can speak to this. I don't know about legislation or case law that has changed the effect that a transfer on death deed has on Medicaid. So I tend to lean in that direction. There are some circumstances where people do want to control and still have an interest in that property while they're living. But I would say 90-95% of the time, a transfer on death deed seems to be the cleaner, more efficient tool.
Hello, I have a question. So, what happens if I have a client which her partner died without a will, living together, having a child, and he was married before and have a baby or a kid from previous marriage, which is a minor, so the ex-wife will have the authority over the child's property?
Most likely, they're most likely the most reasonable guardian of that child's interest, yes.
So, and the partner, because they are not married, will have nothing to say about the property because they are not married?
Based on the limited facts you've given me, that's what it sounds like.
What happens if they are married, but it's still in a scenario, and they have, he's still having a child with a person that was married before, and that ex-wife wants to sell the property because they have something to say about the property, and the wife doesn't want to do that. Who has the priority in that case?
You're asking me a more complicated question.
Who will lead that? The wife that now is a pillow, or the ex-wife that have a child?
It would depend on a number of factors, including is this the surviving spouse? Are they in fact married? And is the surviving spouse's primary residence? They would have light stage. So you're asking me something that is fact intensive, and I can give you a very clean answer to. But one thing that it brings up, and I would like to mention, in Texas, and like in most other states, if you get married, you are married until death or divorce. You can't end the marriage by moving away, or just saying, I would love to do more, or remember Michael from the office declaring bankruptcy, or saying, I declare bankruptcy. You can't say, I am now divorced. No, you're still married. And I face this problem a lot with Latino families, especially. They'd rather just like move away. They move away long enough to know that marriage is higher or something like that. It doesn't magically happen. So we do get situations where a married couple, they may have an understanding that someone is now the owner of the property, but unfortunately the law doesn't see it that way. If they're married and they own property, they buy a property during that marriage, it's most likely community property, and when they want to go and sell that, you're going to be dredging up an old claim or bad relationship that's going to require some attention. And it's culturally, it's just something that we have to deal with.
And last question, Joe, I have a quick, actually, I just wanted to clarify this because I think this is a very common misunderstanding with all our clients. And it's a different document, but very common. The power of attorney brings a lot of confusion because when our client passes, especially in the middle of a transaction, the power of attorney thinks that they still hold the power of attorney, right?
Correct. The authority of an attorney in fact, and the power of attorney expires when the grantor of that power dies. So keep that in mind. Some people think, oh, I have power of attorney, that they think they're entitled to be the executor of that estate. They're not the same thing. Also, one thing that Eric mentioned is in terms of real estate and using power of attorney, most title underwriters want the power of attorney to be specific to real property. So you may have a general statutory durable power of attorney that says I grant all these powers for everything. That's great. It's very effective. It's a great tool to have. Everybody needs to discuss that with elderly parents and elderly clients. But title companies have a higher standard, and they are going to be more particular about wanting the legal description to those properties in that power of attorney. They want to be specific to those properties. So keep an eye out for that. If somebody presents you with a power of attorney and it does not include legal descriptions, and the person that granted that power still has capacity, they're still around, discuss with them consulting with an attorney to address that. Or submit that power of attorney to the title company, and we'll have that conversation with them. Glad to do that.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. All right, guys, it's time for a second raffle. going to go ahead and bring Margie up, and we're going to go ahead and wrap some of these gifts from our sponsors.
Ay, es mi bebé. Yay! Oh, everybody. Okay, we have a Vilola, the non-profit organization for cancer. So they be helping me, survivor of cancer, and she's the leader #1. And she's gonna talk in Spanish. I hope everybody understands. If not, please turn on your translation.
Hola, muy buenas tardes. Para mí es un honor y para Dilolas estar aquí. Yo soy sobreviviente de cáncer, Margie también, y la gran mayoría de los que participamos de corazón. Este 4 de octubre los invitamos a nuestra caminata totalmente latina y todos son bienvenidos. Todo lo que se recauda es para ayudar a personas que están viviendo esta terrible enfermedad. A ellos y a su familia se les ayuda con asistencia para renta, para víveres y, desgraciadamente, para los funerales. Así que los esperamos. Sería para nosotros muy grato el que ustedes estuvieran presentes. Yo sé que muchos no han tenido cáncer en su familia, como Pepe y su señora. Ellos están de corazón y ellos no han tenido cáncer en sí ellos, pero han estado años apoyando a esta noble causa. ¿Por qué? Porque sí conocemos a un amigo, a un familiar o a alguien que está pasando por esta enfermedad. Así que toco su corazón y les pido que este mes de octubre, y no solo en octubre, sino que todo el tiempo apoyemos al cáncer. Gracias.
October 4. If you want to sign, you sign with me at the Capital 67. Thank you so much. And also, we want to do the raffle. We want to give you guys one hat. It's gonna be extended for us. But you know let's pick one.
All right, we got the gift raffle going on, and the first, let's pick from the middle. Okay, we have a winner, Suzanne Lunada. Come on up. Congratulations.
Thank you so much for Susan Lunada. I will give you the hat, Susan. Thank you, Dinora. I appreciate it. Stay tuned. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Feedback, support, means no problem. Well, our next gift is Dog's Room. What is Dog's Room?
Dog's Roofing?
Yeah, Dog's Roofing.
Come on up, Dog's
It's very good. I use it and it's very good and that helps a lot.
Thank you for your support, your sponsorship, Mr. Doc. And when you're ready, pick from the stash. And our winner is
Carolina Guzman.
Oh my God, we are looking for always something else here. Can you talk to me about roofing?
Hello everybody, I'm Alexa with Dog's Roofing. Follows realtors, free inspections, buyers and sellers. Y también ofrecemos apagar, cerrar, por favor.
Well, he's gonna do free inspection for everybody. Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dog's Roofing. We appreciate it, sir.
Now we have a credit union. We have a Chris Gaston. Where is Chris? Thank you so much for coming. And
Chris Gaston.
Veronica Rivera.
Come on up. Let's get a winner here. And the winner is Brian.
No. Brian Miller. Brian Miller.
Good afternoon, my name is Chris Gaston. I'm the real estate relationship executive
that credit in Texas. I'm glad to be here. And we're here for you to help support you, your business and your clients. So at the credit, I work with the mortgage team. We have over 150 loan programs, and we offer everything that your normal mortgage company does. So we have a lot of great portfolio loan products that we offer via credit union. A lot of outside the box stuff. We do 100% financing on any property in the state of Texas under the conforming loan limit. We also do 5% down with no PMI. This market, it's great, to help with affordability. That definitely helps that. We also do, other things such as 1099, base income loans for all of your self-employed borrowers as well. With me today, we also have Veronica Rivera. She's the Community Engagement Officer for our Spanish brand, Todos Unidos, which is going to say a few words.
Muy buenas tardes, mi nombre es Verónica Rivera y yo estoy aquí representando a Todos Unidos. Nosotros somos una marca 100% en español que fue creada con la iniciativa de poder ayudar y empoderar a la comunidad latina. Todos los productos y servicios que nosotros tenemos en inglés, ahora los tenemos en español. Entonces, nos gustaría poder ayudarles si tienen alguna necesidad para abrir su cuenta de banco. Tenemos muchos beneficios con la cuenta de banco. Específicamente también nos concentramos mucho en lo que es la comunidad latina, haciendo muchos eventos en la comunidad. Tenemos 3 camiones de comida que nosotros utilizamos específicamente para poder ayudar a la comunidad. Uno de nuestros pilares es la educación, entonces traemos nuestros camiones de comida para apoyar diferentes eventos y lo más importante es que no cobramos. Traemos todo gratis para poder apoyarlos. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Credit Union Texas. Thank you for your support and your sponsorship.
It's a business today too. Well, our next one is Ruther Insurance. Thank you so much.
Kiera here with Lucid Insurance. Thank you for your support and sponsorship. She's going to pick out the winner here from the raffle. And the winner is
Enrique Morales.
Congratulations.
Hi guys, my name is Kiera and I am here with Goosehead Insurance. We are the largest insurance brokerage in the state of Texas.
Enrique José Morales. Okay. All right, we got a mix up. We got the right one now. Congratulations. I guess you have the same name or something. Okay. Thank you, sir. Congratulations.
So yes, like I said, my name is Kiera. I'm here with Goosehead Insurance. We are the largest insurance brokerage in the state of Texas, and we do home and auto, all property and casualty, so umbrella insurance, flood insurance as well. But we work with about 80 different insurance companies in the state of Texas. We do also, we're a national company, so if you have anyone, whether it's past clients that are moving to different states, I also have the ability to connect them with agents licensed in any of those states. But yeah, we work directly with the loan officer, the realtor, and the client to make sure that all sides of the transaction are in agreement of what the insurance policy needs, age of the roof, just all the information about the home. So we make sure that it's, that we have full information, that it's all under the standards that the loan needs it to be. And yeah, so yeah.
Thank you, Kiera. Thank you. I do want to give a testimony to Kiera. She helped one of my clients, one of my buyers with insurance. She's been phenomenal, great customer service. She took care of my clients, so I highly recommend her.
Thank you so much. Now we have a Cano Molina. Yeah.
Cano Molina's in the house. Thank you again for your support. All right. Next couple, we're going to do the raffle. All right. Winner is
Hammett Tony Hammond?
Mr. and Mrs. Hammond. Tawny Hammond. All right, we'll go to the next one. I think they left. Don't look.
It's Maria Rendon. Maria Rendon.
Congratulations, Maria Rendon. We have a winner. Come on up.
All right, guys, hello. My name is Jorain en español para los que me conocen. I am from Canamolina Insurance Broker. Somos de Canamolina Insurance Brokers. As you can see, fully bilingual. Been in the industry for over 25 years back home. When we moved to the United States, Texas, we decided to enlarge our vision, to enlarge our prospects, and help the Latino community. Being fully bilingual, it was a very good opportunity that we embraced the minute we moved here. We represent almost all of the companies, all the carriers. We do all types of insurance. And one of our best highlights will be fast, easy, and 24/7 response when it comes to quoting. We do Spanish, we do English, you name it, we have it all. We have it all. 24/7, always available, easy to contact us. Thank you so much. Now we have
another sponsor, and he's a mortgage, and something will come my attention. He looks very young. Can you get something? Okay. Jessica, you come together, or it's two prices? Two. Okay, one for mortgage and the other one. Tell us about your business. Who's the winner?
Phoebe Louise Cleora.
Congratulations. You want to help you to repair and talk about your business.
So my name is Marcus Wright. I'm an officer with Contact Marketing. We are an independent mortgage brokerage out of Dallas, the area. We have all different types of programs. So we work with international companies. We also have an independent tax and credit team. So we handle the issues that your clients can have with tax or credit. We help them out with that. Yeah, we are bilingual. We speak languages, English, Spanish, whatever you say, we probably do it. I don't know if they have a chance to emphasize that. If you guys have a scenario that is tricky or messy, put by us. Take a look at it.
Thank you so much. The next one is going to be the text. Well, the text is going to be to do by email. So please give me please. Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. The next one is going to be Jessica Wright. Jessica, thank you so much. Haven't talked to your business. Thank you so much to all our sponsors and everybody who is here with us.
Hey everybody. So I apologize. Marcus and I both, I'll wait till everybody's done talking. I don't want to take from y'all's conversations. Are we good? Yeah. Okay, thank you everybody. So I apologize. I actually forgot to print off the certificates for y'all's prizes, but the prize from both Marcus and myself is a 3 to 5 night stay at any one of 4,000 destinations around the globe. So whoever wins, the one Marcus's prize, and whoever wins my prize, just give me your contact information so that I can get in touch with you and
No.
I did bring a little gift. It's a cup that says everything I touch turns to gold. And I did put in here, because I know it's hot in Texas, a special little bottle of electrolytes for you to add to the cup. Mariela Cud. And I'll just tell y'all a little bit about my business. So I own Healthy Wealthy Babe Tax and Credit Solutions. I help y'all get your clients to the closing table. Anybody that you have here, yes, for you. So we help
Hold the electric light.
Real fast. So any of your clients who are having trouble getting to the closing table because of credit challenges, I would love to help them clean up their credit reports and improve their credit score so that they can get approved. Homeownership has been my specialty for the last 4.5 to 5 years. All of my clients come as referrals from realtors and mortgage lenders, so that's like really all of what I do. So if y'all have any clients who need help with their credit, please shoot me a text, introduce them in a group text with me, and I'll take it from there and I'll send them right back to you within the next 3 to 6 months ready for approval. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jessica. And it's nice to see you again. It's one of the favorite sponsors tonight, huh?
Wednesday.
Thank you, ladies. Congratulations, everyone. Yeah. You want to go?
That was last week. I don't care what choice there.
Okay, everyone, thank you for sticking around. We just got a few more items. As an association, we want to be sure that we're constantly providing services and support that are valuable for you. We know that you can get membership in a number of different organizations, and we want to make sure that we're intentional in the resources that we're providing you. So we have a question that we want to ask, a couple actually, and I think it may be best given time that we'll share it in our group and like Facebook and LinkedIn and some of the chats that we're in, but it's something I want you to be thinking about for us. So if we could provide one resource program or educational opportunity that would make a meaningful difference in your business, your career, or community impact, what would it be? And so if you could give that some thought, wherever you're connected with us, we'll be sure that question is asked there. We welcome your feedback, we need your feedback, because we want to make sure that what we're doing is meaningful and important to you and is helping you grow personally and professionally. So thank you for being here, thank you for your time, and we'll proceed to the next. Yes, we do. And you guys stick around, we have a special guest coming, so don't leave, and then we have the grand prize for Vegas.
All right, guys, we're going to move on to our Las Vegas wrap here in just a second. Real quick, I want to give a brief testimonial about how NAHREP has impacted me and why this event is so important. The Avance Global event is in September. It is going to be mid-September. And guys, I just want to say that NAHREP has impacted my life. I started my career in 2017. I went to the first national event at Latitude in San Diego. Since then, NAHREP has essentially catapulted me and got me connections to my real estate career. I've been in the game for quite a while, and I just want to go ahead and bring up our former presidents. They're gonna tell us a few words about why this event is so important. I have Diana with us. I have Saul and Carolina Bueno as well. So come on down, guys. They're gonna give us a few words.
Good afternoon. Well, I want to tell a story first. There's this guy from Mexico. He was born in Matamoros. Who's familiar with Matamoros? Tamaulipas. So this guy from Matamoros, when he was a kid, he used to translate, as many of you have translated for your family, right? And he's going to be with us in Las Vegas at the Bellagio. Why does he have to be there? He's just from Matamoros, Mexico. Well, he is one of the U.S. billionaires, and he's going to be there at the Bellagio. And I'm sure you want to be there and share the room with these billionaires. We also want to have Daniel Lubeski, which is the co-founder of Kind Snacks, another billionaire. Who else do we have, Saul? We have Chef Jose Andres. And we have 8 conferences happening at the same time. We have the number one billionaire Latina, which is the CEO for a mortgage company. She's going to be there in the same room with you, sharing everything that she knows about mortgages and how she created this 1 billion company. Do you want to be there? The ticket is not that expensive, and you can have 8 conferences at the same time at the Balay. But the most important thing is that we have an event for your kids. If you have kids between 18 and 35, they only pay $199 because they are the next generation. You are creating wealth, but what is going to happen with that wealth? Where is going to go? So you have to prepare your kids. Oh, but Diana, I'm not in real estate, I'm in construction. Well, we have another conference happening for construction. Well, I don't do construction, I do insurance. We have something for you too. We have something from everybody. So 8 conferences happening in the Velayo. You have to be there. I want to be there. I want to learn from Fernando de León, a billionaire tamaulipeco como yo, from Matamoros, Tamaulipas. And he's here in Uptown, billionaire, one of the billionaires in the US. Do you want to be there? Yes, September 13th from the 17th, you have to be there. And we're going to have Martita there.
You really better be there.
You have to be there. So if you need more information, just go to NAHREP.org and share the room with these billionaires. Latino billionaires, Latino in sport. You have a kid that is in sport, you have to be there because we're going to have Olympians there. Everybody's going to be there, and all of these are billionaires, but the best thing is they're Latinos like you and me. I hope to see you there.
Awesome! Right?
All right, guys, I'll make this very simple. My name is Saul Sanchez. Not to brag upon, but Diana and Carolina were my right, and Joel over there, and Omar were my right and my left hand when I founded this chapter in 2017. Thank you, Jose, for recommending this to me. Going back to Las Vegas, ladies and gentlemen, you need to invest in your business. I know that check comes in, it's a big check. What am I going to do with it? Go back and invest into your business. Las Vegas has made a lot of us very successful. Even made some of us millionaires. Some of you guys are talking to some millionaires here that are very humble. They're not showing their money. But what they did, they jumped, and then the parachute opened. So we're telling you, jump to the opportunity. I don't care what kind of business you're doing, you're going to get connected. Okay, so now, for example, now I'm doing tours to Mexico for Días de los Muertos in Puerto Vallarta. I'm taking agents and investors. Why? Because if I take my investor over there, I'm going to get paid, right? So I'm thinking outside of the box. Who introduced me to this? Someone in San Diego at a NAHREP convention. So you're talking to some millionaires here that are closing 100 to 250 transactions a year. And where did they learn this at? At the NAHREP convention. Why? Because someone like Jennifer or Betty, they were humble enough to just sit there with them and tell them, hey, how do you close 300 a year or 500 a year? There's a guy that I know, Mark Dimas, closing 1,000 transactions a year. So I'm telling you, buy the ticket today, okay? No excuses. Go find the money somewhere. I'm going to hand this microphone back to Ricky. God bless you. We'll see you in Las Vegas.
Okay, now for the moment we've all been waiting for. Back from the dead. Everyone, give it up for Everest. All right, round of please. All right, the king himself is going to announce the winner.
All right, everybody pumped up. Vegas? Yeah? Come on. All right, we're going to announce
awesome down here for the raffle for Vegas. Everybody ready? All right. I'm not peeking. We got the king in the house tonight, or today. Let's see. It is Jacob Ayala. Congratulations. Come on. Congratulations. All right. Feel excited? Say a few words.
I just appreciate the opportunity. Miss Janie right here invited me to this event. I kind of just put my foot in the door to real estate, and I just think it's an amazing opportunity for me.
Thank you very much. Quick minute. I wanted to give a testimonial. I know Rick gave one earlier, I believe. I've been involved in ARC for over 3 years now. I originally started with a from scratch chapter, built up from the ground up in Tyler Longview. And then I came over here to Plano Garland, been here for 2 years, so I love the group, somos familia. Thank you everybody for coming out, supporting us, and we'll see you in Vegas.